Hello everyone, it's Kathy and welcome back here in my craft room and back on my YouTube channel, Kathy's Random Acts of Stampin'. If you're new to my channel, welcome in. We're so glad to have you. And if you're one of my faithful subscribers and have been with me for years, I appreciate you so much for always being here and offering support. Today, we are going to tackle something that I think intimidates a lot of people, and that is a shaker card. Now, I am doing this and I'm going to call it Shaker Card 101. Let's make it easy, because people are very intimidated by a shaker card, but I'm going to show you today the components that will put a shaker card together very simply and very easy and take all the scary work out of it. And it will make it so that you can come back and use any image, any design, any shape, and make a beautiful shaker card out of it. Okay, let's get started. First of all, let me tell you your components. Your components is going to be a background, your focal image, a frame, your acetate, your sparkles or your shaker pieces to go inside, and foam tape to lift everything up. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to build the shaker card first, and then the shaker part means the part that is on top of this that's raised up. I'm going to build that first, and then we're going to make the card. That way I want to take all the scary work out right up front and make this an easy project for any card that you want to make. As you can see, it can be a rectangle, it could be a square, it can be a circle, it can be an oval. Any shape that you have that has nesting dies, you can make a shaker card out of it. Now, you might say, what is a nesting die? Nesting dies are just simply that. Let me show you some examples. This is one that's called Nested Essentials, and a nested die is nothing more than the same shape that stacks up in different sizes. These deckled circles are an idea of a stacked dies, and the reason they work so well is they allow you to make the framework for your project. Another one that is a stackable set is your stylish shape dies. Another one is your deckled rectangle dies, and even another one is your scalloped contour dies. Anytime you have a set of dies that build up with a design and they build up, you can actually mix and match these. You can make anything from little smaller shaker cards to huge large shaker cards, and I'm gonna bring this all together for you and hopefully make this a simple project. You can also mix your dies, like I'm gonna do this today. I'm gonna mix this particular die set. This is my scallop contour, the largest one, and this is my deckled rectangle dies, and it is the 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth one from the smallest, or 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth one from the largest, however you want to do it. But I'm going to use those two dies, and I'm going to show you what my focal point is going to be. I am going to use, from this beautiful, gorgeous pack of paper called Traditions of St. Nick. Now, I cut one of my images out right here out of the corner of this paper, because this paper, now this, if you see it's got a red dot on it, that means this is an online exclusive. You will not find this in the catalog. I will have the number for this paper listed on my PDF tutorial that will be on my blog post after this post goes up. So you can go there and get the number for this paper, or you can go to my site, type in the search bar online exclusives, and it will take you directly to everything that is listed there, and there is a lot of beautiful products. So what I did is I cut a little rectangle out that took out the Santa that I wanted, and I wanted this one right here, and that's this one that's holding the presents, you can see. And what I did is I took a piece of the thick basic white cardstock, and I cut a piece of it and I glued this down to make this a stiffer, more substantial piece so it wouldn't just be paper. I like my ephemera, and that's what this is. This is making your own ephemera. I took it and made it a heavier piece of cardstock because the paper is not that thick. You can see the paper is, you know, it's paper. It is thicker than copy paper, but it is still nonetheless paper. So a lot of times when I'm doing an image like that and I want the image to be a little more substantial, I'll do that real often. Okay, all that being said, I've got all my dies here of the ones that I pulled that you can use. And if you noticed, I used the circle dies on this cup of cheer. I used the deckled circles, and I made this beautiful frame out of that luscious adhesive back gold. I'm saying all that, and I've got it right here, so bear with me and let me pull that, and I'll show it to you. I thought I was going to be so together and have everything ready here just to pull and show to you, and then I don't. I'm looking to see if I laid it somewhere else, but here's a piece of it. I'll just show you this. I'll have the numbers in this again too is an online exclusive. This is a beautiful gold paper, and the back of it has a sticky adhesive sheet, so anything that you die cut out of this, you can make a sticker out of it. And this will, I don't want to pull this off a lot, but this will pull back just like that, and it leaves you a sticky sheet back there. So anything that you die cut out of this, and this was perfect for doing this because it gave me a sticky surface to stick my acetate, and you see that's the other component, is a piece of acetate. And I cut that the same size of my circle, and that allowed me, the same with this, I cut this and I used just a rectangle, and I love the way this one turned out too. So we're going to do a little bit more of this, and I'm going to explain it step by step, because in today's video it's going to be a little bit longer video because I'm going to take the time to show you exactly how we're going to build this card up and how we're going to make this work for us. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to grab an embossing folder, and this is the Snowflake Sky. I thought this would be really cute to use in this background, and I'm going to grab a piece of basic white, and I have a piece right here in front of me, and I'm going to cut this down to I'm going to actually cut this into a card base, and then I'm going to cut the other half of the card base in half to give me that piece that I need. Now, if I can find my trimmer, you know, a trimmer is not a small thing. You should not lose your trimmer by your desk, but I seem to have done that. Now, how could I do such a thing? Because it was behind me. You know, out of sight is out of mind. So I'm going to turn my trimmer and put it here on my desk, and I'm going to put this into my trimmer on the 11-inch side. So my very longest side of my paper, I'm going to line it up to 5.5 because this is 11 inches. Half of 11 is 5.5. So I'm going to bring my blade down. I'm making sure that's pushed all the way up against that lip. And I am going to cut. And then I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to cut it in half again. So this is 8.5. I'm going to cut it at 4 1/4. That would be half of 8.5. So give that a cut. And now I have two pieces like this. This is going to be a focal point for my Santa Claus. So I am going to do a little stamping on this before I start, and I think what I want is I want to decide where I want Santa. I think I want him about like that, and I want to do some trees. So I'm going to look into my stamps. I tell you what, let's look at St. Nicholas, the stamp set, and see. I thought I had that one out, but I don't. So let's find him. Okay, I don't have trees, and that's what I was looking for. So I'm going to go to a different stamp set, and I'm going to find something that has some little trees on it. Okay, Shop the Town has a really cute little tree right there. That's not exactly what I had in mind. I really wanted just some tall, thin pine trees. I wanted it to look kind of rustic and outside. And I am this may work. Magical Meadow has this little thing of trees right here. I'm going to try that on a scrap piece of paper and see if that gives me the image. This is me kind of taking you along in the process of how I do my cards. So I'm going to take a small scrap of cardstock, and you can see this one is crooked, it's not cut straight. I'm going to use that bottom edge that is straight, and I just want to see what it would look like if I put some trees like in the background. So I'm going to use some Mossy Meadow. And I do want to get a piece of scrap paper. And I think I'll just grab a grid paper. I still have some of these left over. They are currently retired, but I still use these, and I will as long as they are available. I wish they would bring these back. I know they came out especially for the Stamparatus, and when they pull the Stamparatus, they also pull these. But these are perfect size sheets to have to put under your project for stamping off. So let's move our Santa and our good piece of cardstock up here out of the way. I don't want that to get in my ink. So I'm going to put this on here. And I'm going to grab a stamp block. And I'm going to ink this up. And I haven't stamped this, so I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. So I'm going to stamp it. Sometimes you have to stamp, you know, a few times to get an image like you like. I think this will probably do what I want it to do, but I'm going to get some of that excess ink off of it, and then I'm just going to tap and stamp. Let me silence my phone. I don't need my phone to be going off 90 miles a minute while I'm trying to do this. So I silenced my phone, so hopefully that will keep that from ringing and dinging and bopping while we're trying to do this video. So that can be a little distracting to myself as well as you. So I like that image. I think that one, you notice how I stamped it quite a few times. Sometimes we need to do that just to kind of get, and we can go back over and restamp. I'm going to clean that with my stamp cleaner. And I'm going to actually just use my Stampin' Scrub. I love my Stampin' Scrub. This is a nice big piece or a tool that I love to use. And what I do is I put cleaner on it, but then I activate my cleaner with just a little bit of water. And I have these on my craft room favorites, and they are like that. And then you just do this, and then I'm going to stamp off just to get the wet off of it. I'm going to turn that over, and now I might need to re-ink this is what I'm thinking, but I'm hoping I can get through this one piece. So I'm going to stamp it right there. I like that. So I'm going to try that on my piece of cardstock. And I'm going to stamp it so it's kind of up in the background. And that's exactly what I was looking for. I wanted something in the background where my Santa will look like he's standing, but there's wooded area behind him. You see what I mean? So this worked out perfect. That's exactly what I want. So I am going to use this. And again, that stamp is from Magical Meadow. And it's this one right here. So now that we know what we're going to do, let's put the scrap paper to the side. Let's bring our piece of cardstock that we're working on here. And I'm going to go up about, let's say, maybe about 2 inches, give or take. And I'm going to start all the way over here on the bottom edge, or the left edge. And I'm going to stamp, and then I'm going to stamp again. I'm overlapping just a tiny bit. And that gives me somewhat of a background. So I'm not going to mess with that anymore. I think that's going to be sufficient unto itself. So I'm going to close up that ink pad, and I do want to clean that ink because y'all know me, I don't like to leave ink on something that I can get my card in, or my hand, or worse. So since I'd already wet this ought to clean up really well. What I love about the Stampin' Scrub is you can take these pads out, take them to the sink and clean them with just some Dawn dish detergent and warm water, and then let them, turn them over on a paper towel or a tea towel and let them dry, and then pop them back into your case, and this thing will last you a lifetime. So it is an investment, but it to me it is worth the price because it is something that you will use over and over and over, and I absolutely love mine. All right, so now I want to put Santa right about here. I want those woods to look like they're a good ways away. And then I am going to take my Snowflake Sky 3D embossing folder, and I'm going to lay my Santa, or I should say my trees, into this embossing folder. And I'm going to close it up, and I'm just going to bring out my trusty Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, because y'all know that I still do love this machine, even though I use my electronic machine quite often now because it's just easier on my arms. I'm going to use my #1 plate and my embossing folder with my cardstock in it, and then because this is a 3D embossing folder, I'm going to use my specialty plate #4 over it, and we're just going to crank that through. And now we're going to have a beautiful piece. Allow me to pick up and move around. There we go. And look at those beautiful snowflakes. Can y'all see that? Isn't that beautiful? You always want to remember, stamp first, emboss second, because you will not be able to stamp on the bumpy surface that we have here. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and cut my framework that I'm going to use to frame this. So the first thing we need to decide is what size do we want our focal image to be. And I am thinking that I want this right about here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece out first. I'm trying to decide, maybe I want to go one bigger. Yeah, let's go one bigger. So I'm going to go with this one, and maybe right about there. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put that down right there. And for this one, I am going to run it through my electronic machine. And now we want to be very careful when we peel this off, because you are dealing with paper that's already been compromised with an embossing folder. So this is going to be our focal image. So we're going to put the other just, out of the way. And what I want to, oops, I don't want to do that. Get those plates up there so they don't automatically feel like they're wanting to feed through. Now we can put Santa like that, and you see how it looks like everything's in the background, the trees, but he's standing here holding his little sack of goodies. He's got presents. So I think that's a great thing. So now what we need to decide is, what size do we want our frame? And I want a frame, I think I'm going to have to go, let's try this. I'm not sure if this is going to work because I am teaching y'all how to do this, but I'm also teaching myself. I want my frame to be, what color do I want my frame? I really want the sky to be a little bit blue, so I think I'm going to grab a blending brush. Alright, here's my blue blending brush. So what I'm going to do is I want to put down just a tiny little bit of blue. I'm going to go with boho blue. I want it to look, a little grayish, but not totally. And I'm going to bring up that piece of grid paper again, because I don't want this to be dark. I want this to be, I just want to highlight a little bit of that snow coming down. And you can see I'm just letting what's on my brush, and see what I mean? It's very subtle. I am going to grab a little bit more right down here, and I'm just going to go back and forth on this, just to make it look like the ground has a little blue tint to it. And this, it's, I always say that the details that we put into our cards is what makes them so special. So for this one, now I'm going to go ahead and decide for this. I think I want the Mossy Meadow. And I have a piece of Mossy Meadow already over here. So I'm going to take this. I think this will look really good. I'm going to lay this piece down. This is going to make my framework. So I am going to bring this down to about like that. And I'm going to go ahead and put one of my post-it flags on that, just to kind of hold it in place for me. And then I'm going to center this one up in the middle. Maybe I want to go one smaller. Yeah, let's go one smaller. That'll give me a larger frame, and you'll see what I'm talking about. The smaller you take your next inside piece, the larger your frame's going to be. And you'll see that when I cut this. So I am going to grab another sticky, and I'm going to put that down so it holds both of them. And I'm going to pull this one up. This one's just about gone. The sticky's gone off of it. So I'm going to grab a new one. I want this to be, pretty symmetrical all the way around. So I am going to take this. I'm going to cut this down, and yes, I'm going to do it very untraditional. I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to go under my post-it flags and just cut that piece off. The reason for that is because anytime you're doing something with a flat edge like this, you want to turn it at an angle. it takes some of the stress off of your machine and your dies by doing that. So I'm going to put my cover plate over, and I'm going to go ahead and feed this through. And let's pull this away. Take that off. Now, I always say, save these little scraps. We can use this on another card. Even if you don't need that shape, you can still use that on another card. So now we're going to lift this off and look at our beautiful frame. And not only is it scalloped around the edges, it's deckled in the middle. So you've got this little rough edge inside. And then this is going to fit beautifully over top of this piece. See what I mean? So already I think I've taken some of the scary out of making a shaker card, because all we did was made a frame. And that is the biggest secret behind doing a shaker card, is making the frame. So once you get making the frame down, everything else will kind of fall into place for you. So let's lay this back over here, and then we can bring Santa back over. The other thing that we need to do is we need to cut a piece of acetate that's going to go inside here. Now, what I like to do is I like to go back and lay my die down on the back of this. I like to lay my die down, and I know if I cut my acetate that size, then it's going to fit on the back of this without any problems of getting it to stick. So I'm going to take this particular die, and I'm going to take a piece of acetate, and I have a piece here. There's where I cut that circle out. I'm going to lay this piece on here. Actually, I think I'm going to cut this piece off. And we sell the acetate in packs, and I think it's 2 pieces in a pack, and it's 12 by 12, and it is really good quality acetate, and they're called window sheets. So if you are looking in the catalog for acetate, it will not be under acetate, it will be under window sheets. So I'm going to lay that down, and you want to be careful and make sure that you've got it covered well. And I'm going to run this through and cut that piece of acetate. So, but it does cut, usually cuts really well. Now, if it doesn't cut all the way, you can use your snips and cut that out. Like I got a place right there that didn't quite cut all the way. You can also use a shim. Now this is not going to show, so this is perfectly acceptable to take your paper snips and just go in and just help it along. None of this is going to show. It's going to be in the inner workings of the card. So, and sometimes you can just pull it out like that. But there is your perfect size piece of acetate. So let's move on to our next endeavor. The next thing we're going to want to do is put this acetate on the back of this piece of the frame. And I see a little piece that didn't fall out. You want to make sure if you're using a scalloped edge like this that all of your little pieces are out. So I'm going to turn that over, and I am actually going to use some Stampin' Seal. I tell you what, better yet, I'm going to use tear and tape, and I'll tell you why. Tear and tape will give me the opportunity to pull it off as I put it down. So I'm going to run tear and tape. And where is my little block that I used to tear this with? I have an extra little block that is just an old block that I had way before Stampin' Up, and I use that to tear my tear and tape. So I'm going to make sure that I'm butting up my tear and tape all the way along, like so. Like that, and then like this. All right, and as long as you got your tear and tape all the way around, that's all that matters. Now, I like to take my bone folder and just really kind of press down on that tear and tape It just helps it to adhere, and it helps it when you pull your backer off that it will not, the tape won't come up with it. You don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to get a hold of that backer, and I'm going to pull it up like so. That's going to give me a tab to pull with. I'm going to do the same thing on this piece. And I'm going to pull that up and let this piece stick out like that. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. And I'm going to push that out to the bottom. And then I'm going to do this one. Anytime you do this, always make sure you pull it to where it's on your outer edge, not inside. You wouldn't be able to get to it if it was on the inside. So once you get those all laid out like that, now you're ready to center this over top. And you see what I'm doing? I'm just making sure that I'm getting that centered over top. And the places where it was exposed is catching. Now I can go back because I can see that this is over too far this way and not close enough this way. So I'm going to readjust it. I'm going to put it down so that it is here, here, and here. So I can pull that one up. Now that's adhered. Pull this one off, and that's adhered. We can pull that one off, and it's adhered there, and then pull that off, and that's adhered. Now we have our little scene is already adhered to our frame. And guess what I forgot to do? Oh yes, I forgot. This is not what I wanted to do. Oh my goodness. Y'all just bear with me. You know, I've had a lot on my mind. My acetate piece is the piece that I was wanting to put down. So we're going to go back and we're going to take that acetate piece and lay it in. Oh my goodness. That's what we want to do. Now, our acetate piece is in. Please forgive me for bumbling that up. Here I'm trying to show you how easy it is to make a shaker card. And what do? I complicate it. All right, we've got our acetate is in, looking beautiful. Now we need to build up, and this is where our strips of adhesive comes in. And I have a brand new pack. This is my old pack that I bought when I first started with Stampin' Up. So that was like going on 4 years ago. Yeah, almost 4 years ago. And I'm still using it because you can see how long these last because this is a brand new pack. And let me show you what you get. If I can get the opening. I love that they put everything in these nice Ziploc bags. That makes it so nice. It keeps your stuff from getting, you know, nasty. You get 2 sheets of these. And there's a lot on there. So, you know, when you look at these and you think, oh, it's just a few strips. No, you get 2 sheets of these and they last a long, long time. So I'm going to pull one off because I like to use up my old pack before I start a new one. And they're very thin. They're sticky on one side and you have a backer on the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this down just like this. And when I get over to my edge, I'm going to take my snips and I'm going to snip it. Then I'm going to run this from that top corner down to here. Now what you do want to make sure when you're putting this down is you want to make sure that it is butting up against that piece really nice and tight, because you don't want any gaps in this. This is what will cause your shaker pieces to come loose. So if you've ever made a shaker card and your shaker pieces came out, it's because you had a gap in your adhesive foam that you put around it. So again, I'm going to push this one up as nice and tight to that as I can get it. And then we're going to grab another one, because what you want to do is keep building all the way around. And I might come back this way and start up here and run that straight down. Give it a little snip, snip right there. And now we just need a small piece in here. And I like to make sure I cut a little bit more than not enough. So that looks like that is just about perfecto. So that is, and now take this extra piece and I just stick it right back onto my backing paper and put that back in my envelope. So there is our frame. Our frame is done, and now we have this piece. This is where this piece comes in, but before you do that, you want to decide where you want your Santa. And what I like to do is I like to kind of put Santa where I think I want him, and I think I want him right about there. So I'm going to use liquid glue. You can use your tear and tape, you could use your Stampin' Seal, you can use whatever adhesive you like. I'm gluing this down on a compromised piece of cardstock. When I say compromised, it has been run through a embossing folder. It has been ink blended on. It has been die cut. So I want it to be, I want something that's really going to grab those little nooks and crannies of that embossing piece and really hold on to my Santa, because I don't want Santa to be, you know, shaking around in there. I want him to stay stationary. And if you notice, I didn't pop him up. I want him to be flat. If you pop him up, your shaker pieces will get caught behind him, and you don't want that. You want them to float around on top of him. So giving him a good press. Now we are ready to do this portion of it. And this is the portion where you are going to stick down your piece onto your backer. If you feel like your backer is too small, if you feel like this is too small, what I would suggest to do is cut another piece of cardstock, just maybe a tiny bit bigger, something like that. And I'm going to do that just to show you, if you feel that your piece is not quite big enough, you can do this and it will save you a little bit of woe, because we don't like woe when we're making our cards, do we? Not at all. So I'm just going to hold that, and I'm going to cut this about 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch this way. And I'm going to go up and cut it about the same this way. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this piece down to that piece. Now that's if you put your piece in and you see it's not quite big enough. You can always do this. This is a little fix if you run into an area that you think, oh, that wasn't quite big enough. I should have cut that one size bigger. This will take care of that, and you will not see that piece once you glue this onto here. Now if you notice, our piece is going to go on top of there perfect, with no problem whatsoever. And that's what it's going to look like when you get it done. Alright, so what we want to do first is we want to put our sparkles in. Now that's not what you want to do. Believe me, that was not what I intended to do. Let me go and clean these up, and I'll be right back, and then we will attempt to put this card together without making a blundering mess. I do apologize for this. Hey, things happen, right? I thought the top was on that jar of sequins. Guess what? It wasn't. And now I've got sequins everywhere. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I decided that this may be a learning moment for all of us, and how to use what you have to hopefully make a job a little easier. I grabbed a little piece of cardstock that I had cut off, and I started sweeping up my little sequins. So I got them all together, and I thought, okay, I need an easy way to get them back into my little dish without them sticking to my hand or what have you. And I thought about my little essential embossing kit, and I thought, you know, this might work. I don't know that it will, but let's try it and see. This is the tray that comes with that kit. You get a brush, you get an embossing buddy, anti-static tool, and you get a pair of reverse tweezers and this cute little tray. So I'm going to try something, and I don't know. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Oops, wrong way. And I'm going to see if I put this up under the edge, and I'm going to scoot my mat back just a hair, and I'm going to put this right here, and I'm going to try scooping these into my tray. Now this has a little opening right here where you can pour out, so I'm going to see if these will pour back in to my tray. Or I should say from my tray into, and guess what? It worked. Oh, I'm so excited. So I thought, why not come back and show y'all that? If it works, it will be a great learning experience. And if it doesn't, then, you know, oh well, I wasted a few minutes, but it did work, and it worked beautifully. So if you ever spill sequins or jewels and you have this little tray that comes with that embossing kit, you will be able to use that. So here we go. We're back in business. Let me zoom y'all back in so that you can, oops, wrong way. Y'all seeing all my mess. Right about like that. So let's bring our piece back down. Let's try this again without making the mess that I just did. I'm going to take a fingerful and sprinkle these in like that. I think that's good. And I got one that got away, so we're going to put him. And I'm looking around. I'm thinking I'll probably find little sequins around here, you know, for days to come. But to be honest, I'm not seeing any. Oh, here's one right here. We'll just drop him in there. I wasn't seeing any, and I've been looking to see if I saw any strays. I don't think that's one. That was a piece of white paper. All right, so we're good. Now I need my little focal image again, and that's this right here. I am going to start up here, and I'm going to hold this with 2 fingers like this to keep it stable. And I'm going to peel off my little backers. And you want to hang onto your card when you're doing this, because you don't want to do anything that's going to cause this to jerk and throw your sequins all out all over your work surface. So I'm going to hold here, and now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to hold right there and peel that one off. Now that got all of them off all the way around. So now when I put this down, I want to make sure that I'm covering the adhesive foam tape. So I think that might be perfect. I'm going to go ahead and give it a press and hope for the best. And what do you know? Okay, how simple was that? That in essence is your shaker card. And now we have some beautiful snowflakes shaking around in there with Santa. And all we have left to do is make the card. Now, we all know how to make a card, right? So let me grab a piece of real red. And I think for this one, I'm going to make it a, do I want it to be a side fold or a, I'm going to do a side open card. Y'all know I like side open cards. They seem to be my jam. So I'm going to take my paper trimmer. I'm going to put this 8.5 by 11 in on the 11-inch side at the top. and I'm going to cut it at 5.5. And then we're going to turn it. I'm going to grab my, I know I can do that with my trimmer, but I get a much more accurate fold if I use my Simply Scored scoring tool. Or we can call it a scoreboard. I'm going to use my fine tip, and I'm going to score this at 4 1/4. This is 8.5 by 5.5. So 4 1/4. I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to fold it into itself. Something like that. Now, a lot of times in the other cards that I made, I had a background back here, but because I used this large frame die, I don't think we need anything except this. And I think this is going to make a beautiful card. And all we're going to need now is a little sentiment to put down here at the bottom or up here at the top. And then, of course, our inside. So now to put this down, we have a nice solid back here. So I'm going to use Stampin' Seal. You could use wet glue. I figured I was going to come in with Stampin' Seal because I want something that's going to give me a really nice solid back for this. And you know, any of it will, any of your glue, anything will. I'm going to turn my card sideways. I know it's opening in this way, so I'm going to lay this down. Okay, like that. Isn't that beautiful? I love it. Now we need something that says, I don't know if this is going to be too big. I got a feeling it is, but yeah, this is going to be too big unless we put it right here. I don't think I want something quite that big. So, and that's from the St. Nicholas, which is the stamp set that actually goes with that beautiful Designer Series paper. But they didn't release that paper when they released the stamp set in the mini catalog. Like I told you earlier, the paper is an online exclusive. Be sure to go and check the online exclusives ever so often because they do change. They will pop new stuff out there. Sometimes we don't even know. So it does help if you, you know, check it out every now and then. Christmas greetings I like. This is from Wishes All Around. Make It Merry would be really cute right there. Let's try Make It Merry and see what that'll fit on. Oh, Make It Merry will be beautiful right there. And I have an idea because this card is kind of special, or at least I feel like it's a special card. I'm going to, I think I'm going to find a piece of real red. And I think I want to do this in silver. Let me look at Wishes All Around my dies. And I don't think I have a sentiment for this. No, I just have the Reeves. That's what I was thinking. We're going to find something that we can kind of pop this out with, but I want the Make It Merry, and I'm going to use my Versamark ink. I'm going to get my little embossing buddy if I can find him. So here's my little embossing buddy. I did find him. Put my little tray back under there. And now I'm going to really give that a nice little scrub right there in that top corner. And this is an anti-static powder tool. And what it does, it allows you to get the static off so that your embossing powder doesn't stick except where you want it to, and that's where the ink's at. So I'm going to tap, 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 and then I'm going to come in and stamp Make It Merry. Very pretty. So now I'm going to close my ink. I'm going to grab my silver embossing powder. And we are going to heat emboss this in a beautiful silver. Just like that. And then I'm going to grab my heat tool. I'm going to let that heat up just for a bit. And then I'm going to take it to my image. And we're going to watch the magic happen. There it goes. Never ever does that get old. I like to heat from behind as well. And that is done. So I'm going to go off camera for just a minute and see if I can find a pretty die that will fit over this, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I have this done and I was looking for a die that I would use on it, and I couldn't find one that fit this like I wanted it to. So I'm going to show you how you can take any size die and make it work for the shape you want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to center this like I want it from the left to the right, and I want this to be about like that. And I'm going to tape it down, and I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. And I'm going to put that in at a little bit of an angle and shoot it through. And now I'm going to take this off. And I'm going to move the die down. I'm going to let it feel for the grooves. You can see this is stitching around it. See the stitching? So I'm going to feel for those grooves, and when I can feel that it's popped into those grooves and I've got it right where I want it, I'm going to tape that down like that, and I'm going to run it back through. And this is going to give me a customized die piece the size that I wanted it, with the rounded edges on it, and it's going to work perfect on my card. So now when you take this off, you have got a perfect little piece, and we took this die and made this piece from it. And you can do this with any of your dies just by cut it and then move it down and recut it. Just make sure if you have stitching that you get those stitches lined up, and it will work beautifully every single time. Now, while we were away, I was talking on the phone, totally lost track of what I was doing, and I put my sentiment on. But I can put this one on as well, or I can just save this for another card. I'm going to save that for another card, because all I done was I put glue across here and down this side, and then I took a glue dot and stuck up underneath here so that that wouldn't be loose and flapping. So that's how I did that. Now for our inside. I wanted to carry on with the colors that we had on the front, which we've got that beautiful white in the background. So, and we've got this beautiful green for our frame. The card base is already the real red, which is gorgeous for Christmas. And I wanted this Mossy Meadow matte. And then I went ahead and stamped Sending Wishes for a Wonderful and Joyous Season. And that's going to go in on top of that. And this is going to be our card. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on my piece, And this gives us plenty of room to write a message underneath, sign your name, put a date. I always like to date my cards, so usually I'll put Christmas of 2023 somewhere on my card, maybe in the bottom corner or the top corner, so that when people get those, because a lot of people save their Christmas cards from year to year, and I like people to know what year they got that particular card. So it's just one of those things that I've always done. Even before I made my own cards, I would do that with my store-bought cards. So I'm gonna some glue on that, and then we're gonna turn it, and we're gonna put this down, making sure I'm not doing it upside down, right about there. And there. Give that a good press. And there is your shaker card. Beautiful, beautiful snow fallen Santa, and I love the old world Santa, the Father Christmas, if you will. I think this card turned out beautiful. I love the way it looks. I love the simplicity of a shaker card. Do not be intimidated by a shaker card. Remember, your components are simple as a focal image, a frame, your acetate, your tape that's going to go behind, that's going to lift up your frame, and then your little shaky sequins or whatever you want to put inside of it. You could do confetti. You could make your own confetti and put that in if you wanted to. So many different things that you could do with a shaker card. But let me bring back over my 3 that I did. Now the one is not completed at all. This one here, I got as far on it, and then when I realized that my paper that I used here had white in it, and I had done the off-white in here, it kind of turned me off, so I stopped working on it. Now, will I use this card? I'm not sure. I may take it apart and put my sequins back in where they belong, and maybe even save my image. I'm going to see how much of this card I can salvage. But anyway, there are our 3 shaker cards. I think they turned out beautiful. I hope that you enjoyed the making of our Santa card today, and I hope that you will step out of your comfort zone and try a shaker card. They're really not hard. Just follow the steps in my 101 shaker card. Thanks so much. God bless and keep you. And as I always say in closing, let everything that you do and say bring glory to our Savior and our Lord Jesus. He is worthy. So until we craft again, know that you're loved, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.